crew of Unfortunate Son, director Phoenix Ballesteros, producer Sacha Arias, DP and editor Alia Pena, mentor Lauren Brunken, and peer mentor Katie Neal.
To recognize our interviewees and their families, the Sandovals, the Santos family, and the Valdez. Please stand for a round of applause.
As well as any of you guys that come from generational immigrant families.
What a beautiful way to start this off. That sets such a great tone. Thank you for recognizing these members of the audience. What a powerful, intimate, and deeply human story you told through that documentary. I would love to have each of you share one word or one image, something that stayed with you after making this film.
I think growth, just by both the crew and the participants. I would say self-discovery.
Honor.
Communication.
Home. Thank you. This documentary uses a combination of archival footage and B-roll of the kids playing War in the Forest alongside of current interviews. It gives it a feeling of history repeating itself. Phoenix and Aaliyah, how did you decide when to cut between the two worlds?
So with Antonio, one of our subjects, he's currently out of state, and so we wanted to be able to show him and create imagery for him to still include him in the film and to still show his significance. And we thought, what better way than to use old U.S. military propaganda? And then sort of Aaliyah can go into how we cut through between the two.
I think it just kind of acted as like a chapter break for the interviews, because we don't want to just lengthen the interviews. We want to throw some importance with that interview you talked about, and it just adds a little bit of some style to the film.
Thank you. Aaliyah, the visual language is very restrained, often letting the subject sit in silence. What went into those filming decisions?
Well, Phoenix and I worked together to kind of decide what the look would be, the color palette. Obviously a lot of like warm feeling, but blues were also really in there. Having them sit in silence was to help the emotional aspect. It was a really hard thing for some of them to talk about.
Thank you. Sasha, documentaries depend on trust. How did you gain access to these young men's stories, and what did you do to make them feel comfortable opening up about such sensitive and personal topics?
Well, Phoenix knew two of our interviewees already. She's very close with them. So naturally, they were comfortable with us, and especially her when we were filming. And on set, I made it a very big priority to make sure that we were in a safe place for each interviewee. And before we started filming, I talked to each interviewee before we started filming, and I communicated our vision, what was to be expected, and how much control they had over really everything and what they shared. And yeah, they had a lot of control. We made sure of that.
Thank you. You ended with Julian's story, missing his baby's first steps, and there was no commentary, there was no closure, it just ended there. So to any of you, what went into that decision, and why did you feel it was important to end in that way?
So with Julian's interview, the most important thing to him was Isaac, and Isaac was probably the most significant part of Julian's interview. And a child's first step is a really important moment for each parent, but unfortunately Julian had to miss out on it because he needed to provide stability for them, provide a future for them, and that was one of the things that he had to give up.
Thank you. To our mentors, Lauren and Katie, in nonfiction filmmaking, oftentimes the story takes a different direction than what you expected, and things that you thought you would keep end up on the editing room floor. I would love to hear from both of you what surprised you in the final edit of this movie.
It was really fun with this crew, especially to be on set and see the amount of listening really that was going on. And I think that's what changed the initial trajectory of the film for the better, where the stories behind these men became revealed as like the woman in their lives. And so it became apparent, oh, okay, let's interview the mother, let's interview the wife, let's interview the sister. And this film just would not be complete without those voices. So I'm really glad that the crew was malleable enough and open enough to listen to each other and really be like, oh, okay, this is where the heart is taking us. It was really cool.
Yeah, those interviews were beautiful. This film has just changed so much from PitchNic to post, and it really did come together in post-production. I think my favorite change, at least, was Julian's interviews, starting with him and then going to months later, and just how he acted, how he dressed, how everything was so different. I thought that was really powerful. And his son taking his first steps was insane and a beautiful way to end the film. So.
And the side profile of him putting his hat on, right?
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you did an amazing job. I'm proud of you guys.
Okay, last question for all of you or any of you who would like to answer. If you could ask your subjects one more question that you didn't get in during the making of the film, what would it be?
I can go. I would probably ask, what changes have they seen in themselves since before and after? Because I feel like they're just put in a situation that's going to change a person right away. And we saw that just within a few months from Julian, so to really get deeper into each of the boys would be really interesting.
I just really want to know how the documentary impacted them. Like, how are they different from when we started to now, and do they feel more validated in their decision?
And how does that mom feel too, right?
Yeah.
Does she feel more validated now too?
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much for putting this out into the world. You know,